Well, hello there. Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about how I pattern things out. I'm going to be making a somewhat durable, soft pattern template. And patterning is not something, generally speaking, I like to do because I find it kind of time-consuming, but this is a fairly simple one. So I'm going to show you my process. I've made these as templates for repair caps for the thinner bladed version of this, which is a Go Now spearhead. These are padded HEMA boffer type weapons. I think they have a steel core. Pretty sure they have a steel core, but they're covered in a substantial amount of padding, so you can use light gear while using them. I definitely wouldn't recommend hitting somebody in the head with this because the shaft of the spear has a fair amount of mass in it. So you could definitely give someone a concussion if you nail them right in the head. Definitely don't use these without masks, at least, and try to avoid really... If you can make a good connection with someone's head, I would avoid it if I were you, because you do risk torquing them back, and not something you want to be doing. So yesterday, I put together a few of these, or I cut out the patterns for a few of these. As you can see, this comes 2 inches from the top, and in total, the wraparound is 5.5 inches. So the way I figured that, I wanted 2 inches from the top to get that, how to put it, to figure out what the length I'm going to need in linear, like a linear length that I'm going to need wrapping it around the top. What I do is I'll set this up, move some of my stuff out of the way over here. I will set this up so that you can see, you know what, I should maybe move this camera. You know what, we'll do it with what we got. Yeah, 2 inches should be good on this one, but we're going to need a slightly different pattern template because this is about 2.5 inches wide, whereas this is 2 inches wide, or the panel is 2 inches wide. And we're going to have a slight overlap, just like on these ones. As you can see, this should, just like on this one, give us that slight overlap that we're looking for. So we're going to make it 2 inches wide. Actually, no, this is not 2 inches wide. This is 1 3/4 inches wide. So we're probably going to do the same thing. I believe these have the same thicknesses. Let me just compare. Yeah, it's hard to see. We got complete coverage, so they are evenly wide. I guess, what would that be? Length, width, depth. They are evenly deep if we're going to take this, or length, width, I don't even know. Generally speaking, if I'm holding it like this, length, width, depth. So let's go with depth. They are evenly deep, but these are wider by about 1/2 inch. So we're going to make the panel about 1/2 inch wider as well. And to start that out, what I'm going to do, because I know how far from the tip I want the template to come down, I'm going to set that up so that, let me just change my camera setup a little bit here. We're doing it on the fly. I should have been able to live stream today, but apparently YouTube does not want to cooperate with that. So we're going to do something a little bit different. But I'm going to pretend like it's a live video because I would prefer to do this live. So you're not going to be able to see exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to try my best. There we go. So you can see the reference line about there. There's some shadow here that's preventing you from seeing it properly. Maybe if I move this over just a teeny tiny little bit. Yeah, that's a little bit better. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to kind of compensate for it with the template. Kind of make it work, which is a lot of what this kind of stuff is. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take this piece of string, going to place it at the line for 2 inches down. Okay, make sure that's nice and secured. I'm just going to wrap it around the end. And I'm going to place my other finger just about on the other side. Okay, I'm going to set that as a reference. And then I'm going to just give it a little snip here. Okay, so now we can see about where the cut is. Hopefully I didn't damage, maybe nick that a little bit, but it's not going to get abrased later because that's not a high traffic area on this particular training weapon. Discard the excess. So now we have linearly about, you know what, that doesn't make any sense because this is wider. How could that possibly work? Is this? Yeah, that's 2 inches. Maybe I let it slip a little bit. Yeah, see, that definitely doesn't make sense. Did I fudge it? Oh, you know, I think I know what I did wrong. I definitely mussed it up. Okay, I went to an inch. That makes sense now. So yeah, from here to there, it's not quite long enough. So let's try again. Hold it there. Okay. Okay, got a little nick on it right there. Perfect. Yeah, you can see that's a little bit longer, but not a whole heck of a lot. Yeah, the difference is subtle, so it's not going to be terribly longer to get that same effect. But we do need it to be a little bit longer. As you can see here. Got it lined up. Inch there. And yeah, we're only really missing maybe a ½ inch to clear. So instead of being 5.5 inches total, this might just end up being 6 inches. Not a huge variation, but it is a variation. So we're going to need to compensate for that difference. Now when I'm making these patterns, I like to, as much as possible, have them centered. So I want a center line. It just makes things easier to line up in the future. So let's check, is that actually 6 inches? Take the longer of these two, because that is the correct one. Or is it this one? Yeah, I think it's this one. So that one, if I measure it out, looks like it is from end to end just over 6 inches. Okay. Okay, let's double check. Can't hurt to double check. Whereas the process of making this video is kind of throwing off my measurements because I have a camera in the way. I'll be ordering a boom arm because right now I'm using a tripod. No, that's too long. Okay. Okay. Test that. Turn that around to about there. Still not. Weird. Maybe I'm compressing it too much. Okay, well, let's try from this side. Go for maximum. Okay. There we go, right there. I think that's as close as I'm going to get. So let's see, is that just about 6 inches? That is just under 6 inches. Let's bump it up to 6 inches. Just to make our lives a little bit easier. That's an 1/8 of an inch shorter. So I'm going to bump it up by 1/8 of an inch. So it'll be 2 and 1/16 inches from the tip on either side. It's just going to make our lives a little bit easier. So to start this off, I'm going to put this up here. You can tell the width is the same. So I'm going to shave off. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to shave off this amount. I have a pen to indicate. Let's see. Got a pencil to indicate. Okay. So now I'm just going to shave off. Let me flip this over. Get a little more stability. Yeah, I know these probably aren't the most exciting videos, but I'm enjoying myself, and it's motivating me to actually get this stuff done. But I've been meaning to do it for ages and ages and ages. Again, if you have these projects and you find yourself having difficulty completing them, do what it takes. Just try to complete them. That is the main goal. They don't have to be perfect. Directional improvement is better than not making any progress. In fact, most progress is going to be directional because you're going to have ups and downs. I've got a lot of projects on the go. Some might say I have ADD. And that once I figure out how to finish off a project, I just kind of lose interest in it because the mental manipulation doesn't tickle me anymore. And there's probably a lot of truth to that. Okay. So, let's do a quick test fit. Yeah. Functionally, that comes to just over 2 inches from the tip on either side. And visually, yeah, like I said, it's over by about 1/16 of an inch, which is not a big deal. Totally workable. So, the pattern I'm going to make for the side panel template, as opposed to the gusset panel, is going to be 2.5 inches wide, I believe. It's always good to double, triple check this stuff, especially if you've got the ADD. Yeah, effectively, it's going to be 2.5 inches. It is going to be a little snug, which will give it a little bit of tension fit, despite the fact that we're going to glue it on. I do intend to stitch it around here. It's more for aesthetics. The glue would hold it in place. It's not going to go flying or anything. It'll just give it some extra longevity. Okay, so we're going to make something similar to this. Like I said, I like to have a center line. It helps me line up my stitching holes or templating holes. So we're going to start with this pattern. From the bottom here. So we're going to mark off 2 and 1/16 right there. 1, 2 and a half. Yeah, we'll just have a little bit of overlap, and that'll do tension fit on the end. It's going to mark here, because the stitch line will be 1/8 of an inch in. Touching my tripod. Yeah, this tripod thing is kind of a pain. Tripods are good if you're filming a little further away from yourself, but as much as possible, I like to have all the space I can manage in front of me. So a boom arm mounted a little bit off to the side here is going to be a great feature, I think. Yeah, a little bit of a dip there. We'll compensate for it when we make the template itself. Okay, so I used a roundover edger. Actually, I'm not sure exactly what the tool is, but I'll call it a roundover edger for this. Okay, I think it might be, the roundover might be slightly more dramatic on here, so I'm just going to go grab those tools and I'll be right back. I think that'll do it. Okay, this one, I'm fairly certain that I used this here round over. Yeah, but this one's going to need a slightly more dramatic one. So we're going to do something like that. Okay, and when you use this, just make sure you're lining it up. Count the squares from the edge and make sure that the distance is the same before you start your cut. It looks about right to me. Grab your maul. Give it a little tap. Okay, so you got one round over. And 2 roundovers. Yeah, that looks about right. Doesn't have to be perfect. Beautiful. Yeah, compensate the little kids in that dip. Perfect. Okay, and our roundovers look almost identical if we overlap them. Yeah, basically mirror images of each other with similar proportions. Excellent, excellent. Just going to do a test. Does that look about right? Yeah, that looks about right. Perfect. So, now we are going to reinforce these with some Gorilla Tape. Give them a little more longevity. Did I actually give this an extra bit, or did I pull a stupid and not do that? Or was 6 inches an eighth over? Yeah, 16th was 6 inches was a 1/16 over. Does this line up? Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so that makes our lives easier. So, like I said, I'm just going to grab some Gorilla Tape, and I'm going to... Come on. Okay, get this out of the way. I'm just going to lay this over here. Actually, I'm going to do it vertically because it's a little bit smoother. It should be just under the size of the Gorilla Tape. Whenever you're sticking anything, make sure you give it a nice courtesy press to make sure it sticks nice and tightly. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, and I may as well just put the second layer on right now. We could probably get away with just one layer, but I want this to last a long time if I need to use it again. So I'm going to double layer it, just for funsies. This I'm going to place this face up. No, I'm not going to do that, because that's silly. Okay, measure it out on the side over here. 6 inches, a little over 6 inches to give yourself a little extra wiggle room. Okay, I'm being very quiet, which apparently is bad for the audience. Well, audience, I hope you don't mind this. I think I'll try to work on editing skills and whatnot in the future, but for now, like I said, I just want to get this stuff done. I want to make sure that I'm making progress on these projects, and that is the most important thing. Okay, so I'm going to cut off these edges. It's going to take a few passes. I'll probably sharpen this X-Acto knife after this, because I think I just rubbed it against my ruler over here. Yeah, you can hear it cutting through the fibers, and look there, we've cleared all the way through. Just quickly put that in the trash, which should be right next to me, but isn't. There we go, trash is right next to me now. When you're using an X-Acto knife or any kind of edge that you need to be very sharp, it's a good idea to strop it every once in a while. What this does is it just hones the blade. Now you'd think, this is an X-Acto, why don't you just bust it off? I've actually had really good luck, or not good luck, but good performance and consistency from just refreshing the edge of the blade frequently. You don't have to do it every cut, but once you start to get a little bit of resistance, it really doesn't take much effort. Oh, frick, okay, it's sticking on this side. It really doesn't take much effort to just give it a little courtesy sharpen, and you would be amazed, especially with a blade like this, how much easier it makes it to just go through the material. There we go. Perfect. Throw that in the trash. Should I be speaking louder? Maybe someone will comment and tell me that I'm doing this all wrong. And that I need to get off the internet, which is probably true. I think we could all use a little bit less internet in our daily lives, but at least I'm doing something, you know? I'm contributing to the internet instead of just consuming the internet. Okay, it's cutting through the second layer of Gorilla Tape. Perfect. I think I got a little bit of the paper off the pattern edge, but that's okay. because it doesn't have to be perfect. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, got a little bit of the paper there too, but like I said, that's not really that big a deal because we have the general shape. And the nice thing about these leather panels is you can just kind of make them line up with each other if you just romance them a little bit. So I'm going to need 2 pieces here. Actually 4 pieces because I'm going to double layer it and there's going to be a seam. Yep. Just cut these out ahead of time so I have them nice and ready for when I need them. I'm going to need a new roll of Gorilla Tape soon, especially if I keep planning on making patterns. Alright, one more. Okay, these have gone progressively larger. No, there we go. A little more consistent. Perfect. Okay, as much as I can, I'm going to try to line this up. Put it just down the middle. Make my life a little bit easier. Okay, perfect. The nice thing is it will now stick to the work surface. It'll make lining up the next one much easier. Okay, perfect. Just butt these right up next to, butt this one right up next to that seam. Press it down. Okay. Normally this would create a weakness right here, but we are going to resolve that with more Gorilla Tape. And when they say the whole thing is stuck together with duct tape and shoelaces, they are not wrong, at least for the duct tape. Okay, so that's going to create a very durable pattern. Let me just get my knife underneath there to lift that up. So for all the sides where we can use the straight edge, we're going to use the straight edge. Okay. That was pretty easy. I should be able to use it on the side as well. Just eliminate a lot of the material that I'm going to have to do tangent cuts on later. Yeah, and you can really hear how dramatically and easily that cuts through because we bothered to sharpen the blade or hone the blade. Yeah, this is called a strop. You may have seen it in old movies where they use a flexible strop to hone a straight razor blade. You just put some jeweler's rouge on here, which is a microabrasive compound. You just spread it on there or rub it on there dry, and it creates a little bit of an abrasive edge that will realign the burrs and realign and strip off the little burrs that get on the edge of these things. Not quite. I was impatient. I didn't wait for all the fibers to be cut on that particular one. Okay, we can repeat the same thing at the top. Like I said, there was a little bit of a cut too shallow or too deep earlier, but we can compensate for that right now. I'll have one that's a tiny little bit sticky, but that's okay. Yeah, that works. And now I can just, I guess I'd do a bunch of tangent cuts. Because all the curve is an infinite amount of tangent cuts, of tangent lines. And there we go. You see, if you look very closely on that edge, the camera's not going to focus, obviously. Maybe I can... Nope, not going to focus. You can see there's a little bit of a lip of material there, but not enough for us to be concerned with. So just going to tangent off this corner as well. I could glide along the edge all nice and pretty in one single motion, but this actually makes, in my opinion, you're less likely to muss up the edge if you just do a bunch of tangent cuts than if you try to do a single sweeping motion. Let's see, got a little bit of clutter here. Okay, so I'm just going to declutter this a little bit, and I'm going to grab my, I believe this is polycarbonate cutting board. And I'm going to use a stitching punch, or stitching chisel, with teeth that are 1/8 of an inch apart, just about. So if I offset this by 1/8 from the edge, given that I have an even number of 1/8 of inches from one end to the other, I should end up with an 1/8 offset on each side. Hopefully, if I don't, well, then I will have to rethink my strategy and start over. So these are just about 1/8. But if you walk it and compensate for the difference with every punch, then you can make it behave the way you want it to. Just checking the alignment and the shadows, because, like I said, the camera in front of me makes things a little bit difficult to see. Okay. Just put the last foot in, or put the lagging foot in the leading hole from the last one and realign. That wasn't quite deep enough. Let's give it a little more oomph. There we go. Okay. Beauty. Yep, it's going to work out perfectly, just like we want it to. Okay, make sure those are... Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And as you can see, the final hole will be offset by 1/8 of an inch, or 1/8 of an inch. Just like we wanted. Okay, just make sure that it's all lined up properly. Yeah, it's not perfectly on the line, but, you know, it doesn't need to be. Maybe just give it another punch. I can visually compensate when I use my one hole hand-all punch for when I actually put the holes in. Okay, I think this video is just going to be about me making this. You know what, this is probably, there we go. It's easier to visually line up vertically than it is horizontally. Beautiful. Yeah, because now I can peer over the camera. So I'm using a phone camera. A buddy of mine is getting rid of a higher end phone than I have access to, because I always get the cheap, I don't get the cheap phone, I get the free phone. I don't think once in my life have I gotten a flagship phone, the one that you have to pay for, or the one that you have to pay for as part of your plan. Apparently they make you pay for it outright, and then your plan is still super expensive now. But yeah, the charge port, USB-C charge port on his stopped working, but it's a really good phone. He got himself a new one. He's like, I don't want this one anymore. I'm like, sir, I will take your phone. I will use it as a video camera. I believe it has the zoom out feature that I so covet in a phone camera. Now, I could in theory upgrade my camera setup otherwise, but I am cheap and there are many tools at my disposition, which means that I don't have to get an actual camera. A camera phone with a microphone. Who would have thunk? 20 years ago, I told someone that everybody's going to have a professional grade phone in their pocket that they can just pull out and take weird photos and videos with at any time. Who would have believed that? Not me. Okay. So now we have to count the holes on here and make sure that there are an equal number of holes on this pattern. So I've got 6, 12, 18 holes here. I just have to make sure I have an equal number on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, so I need to make sure that I have 24 holes here. I already have 18, so I only need 6 more. And that math lines up just like it did last time. So what I'm going to do, this stitching chisel is actually a removable one. So I'm just going to use another head for it. It's actually a really good investment. I got this at Tandy Leather. It is a interchangeable head stitching chisel. I know that if you're using a bunch of these, it might be good to get a fixed head, but this has served me so well. I cannot recommend it highly enough, especially if you want to take your kit traveling, or if you want to move around with it. If you want to, what I recommend is this set and one dedicated single tooth chisel. That way you can just make you can make single holes if you need to, but in a pinch, this kit does the trick. This thing is so old and beat up because I've taken it around so many places. Now I'm just going to take every single one of these 2 teeth out, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the existing holes and figure out what the best spacing is. So the best spacing might be So you know what? I'm just going to use a set of wing dividers that I'm going to grab real quick to make a nice 1/8 offset line from the edge. Just hold on just a sec. Right, there we go, wing dividers. Or this protractor? No, this might be totally wrong. Okay, so I've got that at 1/8 of an inch. I'm just gonna give myself a little bit flatter surface to work on. Oh man, I have a bad habit of accumulating junk on the edge of my table. Okay. Okay, there we go. Now you can't see, but there's a little crease right here. I'm just going to run my pencil in it. Perfect. Now I'm going to see which one of these gives me the best spacing. I think it's going to be this one. Yeah, I think that's going to give me the closest spacing. at the middle size. Yeah, definitely not that one. That would end up too close to the edge. Yeah, this is the one I used last time. So I'm just gonna unscrew yonder head, or yon head. Okay, 1, 2. If I got the math right, this would be just about... Oh yeah, that is like perfect. I'm still not going to use that one. I'm going to use my single. Okay. Yeah, and that is basically... I'm going to end up with the exact same number of holes on either side. Perfect, perfect. Okay, I'm just going to quickly do the same thing on this side. Get that nice little grooved edge that I can make my pencil mark to follow in. Okay. Oh, doesn't look like those went through. Okay, I might have to... Did they go through? Oh, they didn't. Ah, well, close enough. How about these? Yeah, they went through where it mattered. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, now that line is difficult to see, but I can feel it with my fingers. Okay, 1, 2. When you're only punching one hole at a time, it doesn't really... Oh yeah, that's almost perfect. Because of the material I'm using, I really only need pressure from my hand. I don't need to use... Because the force is so acute through just one tooth, I don't really need a maul to apply the sufficient amount of force to it at all. There's a 6-toother. Yeah, highly recommend these. Good investment. There we go. Beautiful. That's a little more dramatic, of course, like a theater kid. Okay, so now that I've got these, I'm just going to tidy up a little bit. All my stuff is punched. I can put my tools away. It's a good habit to get into, to be putting your tools away as you use them, which I don't always do, but I should really get more in the habit of doing that. Apparently it's what organized people do. This organization that people speak of, I find kind of elusive. But I will do my best to put away my tools as I use them, so that my workspace is not a cluttered mess, as it tends to get. I unfortunately tend to just strew my tools about all over the place as I do the work, and then I put them away at the end. But I really shouldn't do that. I should really be putting them away as I go back into the place where they're supposed to go, because that way I know exactly where they are, because everything in here, believe it or not, does have a place. Just doesn't end up where it's supposed to go every time. Okay, put the wing divider away. Oh, jeez. That there is another reason for wanting to get a boom arm for this camera, so that I don't knock my camera stand, because right now I'm standing behind the camera, whereas with the boom arm I can set it up off to the side. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now, if I strew the hide over here, can I template it out. Yeah, I think I can do that if I set myself up a little... I don't know if I'm going to punch all of the holes out tonight. I might just grab my portable polyboard. Yep, I'm going to grab this. I'm going to bring it with me where I'm going tomorrow morning. And in spare time, I'm going to use a clamp and just manually all out my holes one by one on location. Or I could spend a ridiculous amount of time and do it now and just do all of the stitching tomorrow. Okay, one thing you got to pay attention to, it's important to count your panels. Last time I did this, I ended up with 2 extra panels, which was a bit of a goof. But 2 extra of these. So I ended up with 2 more Go Now end cap panels, or 2 more sets of Go Now end cap panels than I actually needed. But someone I know needs a set for a pair of Go Now padded longswords, or light longswords that they have. So I ended up making those for them. And I'm going to carefully count them out. I'm going to need 8 of these. I'm going to need 4 of these. 4 gusset pieces and 8 side panel pieces. Okay, so I'm going to quickly run around my table and grab my hide. And I think I can lay it out here. I think I have enough space, but we'll see. Get to hear the exciting sounds of me clamping the hide. Clamping the hide to the table over there so that it doesn't slide. Okay. So I think I'm just going to set it up. I'm going to try to use this as intelligently as I possibly can, so I'm going to finagle a bit with some of these spaces. Okay. That tear does not go in there. Can I move it up? So, yeah, perfect. Now, one thing you might notice is that a lot of the time, when you're trying to get the most out of a hide, you will end up using existing cut lines to save yourself space. Because at the end of the day, these things are expensive. You don't want to be wasting any material that you don't need to be wasting. I guess a professional would just use a scratch awl. But I don't have one on hand right this second, so we're just going to use this pen. Okay, you can't see that terribly well, but I can see it well enough to be able to cut it out. And I'm actually going to switch to a smaller ruler because this one is a little bit cumbersome. It's good as a weight to really brace against the table. You can use a clamp on it, but it's a little bit too big for what I'm going to be using, so I'll be right back. This nice little crafting model making ruler is what I'm going to be using here. It's long enough to just get the edges I need. This should sail right through the leather. Now, oh yeah, now that I have honed the edge. Perfect, look at that. So I'm just going to come around here. And this piece I'm just going to liberate. Nice. Yeah, I think I might go from here down. I wish this were a little bit longer. Could I go from here in? Ooh, that might be better. Then I'm left with... So... Yeah, all this material is basically useless anyways at this point. Yeah, not much I can do with that. I might keep it anyways, just see if there's anything I can do with this. But I think I'm going to be using this like such, and just working my way in. I'm going to sacrifice a little bit on that edge to just put these right next to each other. Yeah, because I have a nice, relatively straight edge right there. Okay. So let's get started on marking. This is a nice 5mm fine point pen that was given to me by a friend. I believe it's a Japanese brand, but I can't read Japanese, so I couldn't tell you exactly what the brand name is. Oh, I forgot to actually do one of the lines. Okay, all is not lost. I can set it back up. It's just on the other side, so you're not going to get to see it, unfortunately. Okay, good enough. Now I'm just going to set this up right next to itself. That will make cutting out the line extremely easy, because I've already got two sides that are squared off. A little bit of deviation there. Not going to affect the final. Okay, I'm going just slow enough for the ink to actually connect and mark the leather, even though it's really faint. I'll set myself up here, because again I have two squared off reference edges. Or square enough, because at the end of the day these are sacrificial caps. But they will do the work that they need to. Alright. Yeah, this probably isn't terribly entertaining, but that's okay. It doesn't need to be super duper entertaining. Again, this is really just a way for me to, an excuse for me to actually get my projects done. So I tell myself if I record them, there's a higher likelihood of them actually happening. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, last one. Okay, I've already played Count the Panels. Oop. Move that over just a little bit. Perfect. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Alright. Let's see. Is this short one long enough? No, it is not. So I'm going to use my longer square ruler to, first off, cut out this whole thing, and that'll make it easier to work with. Got myself a little indicator. Okay, I'm going to start over here. Okay, you can tell by the sound that the material makes when it is cut all the way through. Okay. So for this I'm going to use this shorter one, because it's easier to work with. I'm less likely to knock anything that I don't want to knock. Really just make sure that it's lined up properly on that line. And then beautiful. Especially with a soft leather like this, you want to be applying pressure down it because it does get dragged on the edge a little bit. Okay, I'm actually going to overcut this just a teeny tiny little bit, and then I'll clean it up on the other side again with this nice straight edge. So I really want to make sure that this blade is tilted just a teeny little bit so it's riding the edge of the straight edge. You can tell by how it sounds once all the fibers are cut through. Like that. There we go. Perfect. So I'm just going to give this another quick hone, because it just makes things so much easier. See, again, knocking the tripod. That is why I would prefer to have something else instead of a tripod. That's okay. Next week, I'll get the package from Amazon, and then, oh, that feels so nice. Beautiful. I'll get the package from Amazon and apply the tripod to its proper usage, which is standing far away from us as we film things. One, two. You see it move at the end there? That's how you can tell. One of the ways you can tell, that and the sound, that you've cut all the way through. Again, I'm applying even pressure to the top and bottom of these panels, because this is a thinner leather. It will get dragged by the blade just a little bit. If you're at all into anime, there is a comedy horror, Dungeon Meshi, I believe it's called, about people eating monsters in a dungeon. And let me tell you, the cooking physics on that, like the knife, the animation of the knife sliding into the meat and dragging it along with it for the first couple slices until it gets about halfway through. It's stuff you wouldn't think of, but it really elevates animation, I find, to make it more realistic. Alright, so this is... yeah, that's mostly cut. I'd say we can clean that up just a tiny little bit. I'm going to press a little bit harder and take this off in one swoop, for the most part, where it mattered. Okay, we're going to do those tangents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for funsies. We're going to use a straight edge along here. One, 2. Okay, and then 1. Because I'm at such a steep angle with the X-Acto knife, more of the blade is going through it, so I can make most of these cuts with just one drag instead of having to drag the tip along multiple times. Okay, let's see if this lines up with our template, or if we fudged it. And by we, I mean me. More or less. Okay, let's see. A little bit of fuzz on the side, and I think I could stand to take a tiny little bit more off. Yeah, because this is butted right up against an edge. There's a little bit extra material right there. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. So I've got 4 of my gusset panels, and I need 7 more of these. Let's get started. Or how do the Appalachians say? Let's get on it, doggone it. Do I want to do them like this? That would help to establish an edge. Or do I want to do them over here? Because I can do 1, 2, 3. Oh, either way. I'm working my way this way. I kind of don't have a ton of material to work with. I've been kind of picking about the edges here, so I don't have the most usable space. But I do have a pre-established edge right here, so I'm going to take a couple pieces off of this. I'm just going to quickly... do I need to? Yeah, I may as well square off that edge, just for consistency. Ooh, so bright.